Hi, Dad. Welcome back to another episode of Dave and Andy's Honest About Life. How are you?
I'm doing well, Andy. Thank you.
Wonderful. Great to hear. Good to have you, as always. So, one thing that I saw recently it was an article in the New York Post that talks about exactly what you and I are doing with this advent of artificial intelligence, right? It seems to have just dominated the conversation lately. It seems to be something that is, in some people's perspectives, the biggest thing we've ever done as a human race, right? I mean, obviously, we've traveled to the moon, and at some point we'll get to Mars and all this kind of thing. But artificial intelligence, it some folks are super excited about it, and others are super worried about it. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch in the middle. But one thing the New York Post talked about is the value of what you and I are doing. And I'm teeing this up like this, Dad, because I'm curious if you think this is cool or really creepy. And that is that the more video and the more audio you can capture of your loved ones, the more accurate the conversation is going to be after your loved ones pass away. So let that sink in.
Yeah.
So, all of your, in this case, all of your, or mine, depending on which one of us passes away first, all of our audio and video will be uploaded to servers and then can be used to create this artificial being that takes your idiosyncrasies and your voice and your mannerisms and creates you virtually. So that if I wanted to have this conversation with you, Dad, after you passed away, I could. And it will be very similar to the one that we're having.
That is so freaky. That is so scary, but I can understand it. I can understand why they can do that. I mean, but isn't that kind of scary? That's kind of like everlasting life. You know what I mean?
I do. I
You
do.
don't really die
How do
because
you?
you're there, your personality, everything's captured.
So that's really what they're saying, right? Our consciousness, I mean, not really, right? But it's like our consciousness has been uploaded to the cloud, right? To servers, so that in this virtual reality space, we can continue to communicate with our loved ones forever. And the problem with that could be that we no longer feel this major sense of loss. I mean, let's be real. We're going to be in great pain when a loved one passes away, period. But how will that affect us after the fact? Will and how will that affect us deep down, right? That sense of loss, that sense of we never really get over it. If all I have to do is say, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to have a conversation with you today," even though it's been 5 years since you passed away, and I could pull you up on the computer or on my phone and have a what seems to be a real life conversation with you. How will that affect us as human beings? That we right now we go through this mourning process. We eventually get to the point where sort of we can move on because of how we've dealt with loss. But how will that affect us, after that? Will it
Yeah.
allow us to go through that process?
I know exactly what you're saying here, and it's got to have a huge effect on the way we look at life and death, the way we mourn. It will change things because, as you said, 5 years after I pass, you want to have a conversation with me, you virtually can, and that to me means that we'll think less about death. I mean, death won't really be death. It won't be the last time you talk to me. And that's kind of weird. I mean, it's very weird.
I titled one of our conversations Max Headroom. Do you remember
Oh,
Max?
I love that. I love that show. That was a very interesting show.
It was. It was.
Very forward thinking.
And we could actually have that without the glitchiness, the quirkiness that, and it's actually, when I looked him up on the web, it's actually Max Headroom, it's Headroom.
You know why? You know why that was when he died. When that guy died, he was going under a overpass or something that said Max Headroom, Max Headroom, and it took off. Decapitated him.
Are you serious?
I believe that's the way the movie started. That
Oh,
was like the pilot.
You got a good memory. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the last thing he saw was Max Headroom.
Right.
It was bizarre.
If you or the kids that are around you are playing with this Chat GPT or GPT-4, some latest iteration of AI, if you've seen them playing with it in terms of asking it questions and seeing what kind of responses you can get, then you would know that it is really remarkable that they seem like very unique and accurate responses to whatever questions you would have. I mean, obviously there's some issues that they're working through in terms of the accuracy, but I think it's getting a lot better. But the point is that I can see this conversation that you and I are having being very lifelike, very real, because when this finally does happen, that it'll be so far along that it could answer in a way that you might normally answer. So it's not just taking your responses from the past, but it's taking how you respond, Dad. It's taking your voice, it's taking your voice inflection and coming up with completely new responses. So that is scary.
Yeah, it totally is. And I think of even before I pass, they can come up with that. So, there could be somebody out there talking like me, just being me. It's like a clone.
Yeah.
And it would just be going on. So to me, it's weird that you could have, who knows what's going to happen in the future. But I mean, it's happening so fast that, yeah, we could have multiples of us out there roaming around.
And
that's scary in my case. Nobody wants that, but
it's someone like yourself who's been on TV. If you think about, nobody would want to clone me, right? Nobody would want to impersonate or mimic me, but someone like yourself or someone who, anybody on TV currently, there's some value in imitating and cloning them because there's already an audience for that, right? So
it's like all the presidents of the world, all the different leaders of countries. If they start making copies of those, I mean, who knows what could happen? And that's going to happen. I totally agree with you, Andy. I think it's going to happen. It's probably happening already.
I'm sure it is. Well, let's end this session, but I do look forward to talking with you as we go through these next months and years of change, and I look forward to getting your opinion on all that, Dad. So
this is so interesting.
Yes. Until next time, Dad. Love you.
I love you, pal. See ya.
See ya.